Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new video on the Pole Position YouTube channel. In this video we're going to be looking at the possibility of the reigning world champion not being on the grid for next season. He is the only one of the drivers that hasn't actually signed a deal next season alongside Mercedes. So it's a topic we're going to be having a little bit more in-depth at. So really, without further ado, let's get into it. Main question is there really a possibility of Lewis Hamilton not being on the grid for next season? I mean, the news outlets are sort of circling the possibility that that this might be the case. Obviously, George Russell was in the car last year at the Sakhir Grand Prix at the first race, at the track that will be the first race of the season this time round. I know it'll obviously be the Bahrain Grand Prix, but it's the same circuit. They use the shorter version, but I'm digressing, but I think obviously the George Russell rumours are still around. Lewis Hamilton hasn't signed a deal. We know Valtteri Bottas has. Is that a possibility? Personally, I think that it's just a matter of time. It is a bit strange that they're leaving it so long now. I know, they've said that the COVID situation and obviously the lockdowns and the not being able to maybe sit down and have that discussion in terms of contracts, is the reason why it's been delayed. But I still think it's a bit strange that they've left it this long, with testing being just over a month away, and yeah, they haven't got the deal signed yet. So really, is there a chance? I don't think so. Look, he will want to be, when he ever retires from Formula One, which I still think is maybe next season. I expect the season after, but he'll want to be leaving the sport as the number one. And I think obviously he has the opportunity this season coming to beat Michael Schumacher's record. He's obviously level with 7 now, 7 world championships. He has the opportunity this year to make it 8. Why would you not, try and achieve that when obviously you're going to go into the season again? We're all expecting with the best car on the grid. So yeah, for me, it's a no-brainer, and I think both of them, like we said, are just sort of waiting for that announcement, both from Mercedes and Hamilton, that he has signed for next season. Obviously, we've been seeing him on social media as well, got back into training, focusing on getting his fitness back up, especially after he caught the virus at the end of last year. Obviously, that's why he missed the Sakhir Grand Prix. Managed to get in for the last race of the season and get a podium, but I think he still struggled in that race as well. So yeah, he's obviously been trying to get his fitness up during the winter break. So yeah, he's already gearing up for the season. We're just waiting really for the announcement. And in terms of why he hasn't signed, I think obviously we've gone on to that. There is an article on the F1 site. Yeah, it's more just finding the time. I know Mercedes have sort of found the time with Valtteri Bottas, and they obviously got that signed. They got that signed a bit early, actually. Normally, Valtteri Bottas is the one that has to wait a little bit longer to find out if he's going to be in the seat for Mercedes next season. But that was signed around August, September this year, so it was sort of already announced, during the midway point really of the season, that Bottas would staying at Mercedes for next year. Obviously, there might always be a little bit of the contract where he might be, taken away and Russell replaced. We don't know the ins and outs of the contract, but I'm expecting that Bottas will retain that for the full season again. But yeah, in terms of Hamilton, I think things have been... situations have happened. Like I said, he contracted the virus, wasn't there for a few weekends. It might have been that was the time that they were going to sit down and have this contract discussion. Obviously he got in the car in Abu Dhabi, but whether he was feeling 100%, would he then want to go into any contract talks? They've obviously had their winter breaks now. So, I'm expecting that this is the time. I mean, it might be the case that they've actually already signed the contracts. They're just waiting with the announcement to obviously let us and the media know that that's going to be the case, and he has signed the deal for however many years. Personally, I'm expecting it to be maybe at least 1, maybe 2. I don't think it'll be any more than 2 personally, just because I think he's got many more projects that he's thinking about going into, whether it be fashion or music or anything like that. So I think Lewis Hamilton, especially with the new regulations coming in, will he want to stay past that point? Who knows? But I think like I said, he'll still strive for this 8 world championships and try and get that 8th. But yeah, I think a couple more years at least I expect Lewis Hamilton to be here. And obviously, the other points of the way the deal might be being held up is obviously the fine points of the deal. Now, obviously, the main talk will be finance, and obviously how much he's going to get paid over that period. That'll be one of the sort of main points. Obviously, when you're creating a new deal and it's a bumper deal for a big team, and obviously a big sort of well-known racing driver and well achieved in terms of his win rate as well. The financial side is something that I obviously want to discuss in the finer details, so I expect that might be one of the reasons why the deal maybe hasn't been announced yet. You've obviously, like we said, we've got how long they're going to be signed for. Obviously, it's an investment for Mercedes. They want to make sure that they have it for the right period of time. And then it's, of course, that sometimes details that people maybe don't go into as much, and that's obviously the media appearances, the marketing. When they go in and see the sponsors and sort of have a dinner with the sponsors, or have an event on with the sponsors, and obviously that takes into consideration as well in parts of the contract that maybe you have to do 10 appearances a year, or 15 sponsor events, or you have to go to here and there. So obviously that's something else that the drivers have to sort of figure out on, and how many they should be allowed. If you're, maybe one of the younger drivers that's just coming through in the academy, you just take how many sponsor events as you can. If you're a 7-time world champion like Lewis Hamilton, you try and get probably as less sponsor events as possible. So I think, that is, again, something that's probably holding down and delaying the announcement of the contract. But look, to be honest, if I just sort of finish this, I think it's a foregone conclusion really that Lewis Hamilton will be at the Mercedes team for next year alongside Valtteri Bottas. It would be a shock if Hamilton no longer took part in Formula One, and especially, like we said, so late on into the start of the season, really, in the sense that it's quite late on. The cars will be launched next month, then you've obviously got testing, and then the racing starts in Bahrain in the end of March. So as much as it's, say, 2 months away from the actual racing, with the next things that are coming up in the next few weeks, it is quite late on to make a decision that could cause such drama as this. So, like I said, for me, Hamilton will be at Mercedes for next year. If it wasn't the case, I think obviously they've got a great replacement in George Russell. It would just be then how they would sort that out with Williams. I'm guessing Mercedes would have a clause in there to bring Russell back in, but how they'd obviously have to help Williams find a driver for next year. Could that be Stoffel Van Dorn? Could that be one of the other Mercedes drivers? Who knows? But there's no point looking into that, because I think ultimately Hamilton will be there next season, and he will be the number one contender to win the World Championship next year and be the first 8-time world champion. One, in terms of the questions, do you think Lewis Hamilton will be at Mercedes for next year? I'm expecting everyone is going to say yes. And ultimately, do you think Hamilton will go into the start of the season as the number one contender for the Drivers' Championship? I'm guessing you're probably going to say yes for that as well. But let me know in the comments. I'd love to know your thoughts. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care. See you soon.